Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
I'm Aaron.
And we're going to talk about a game that 2 years ago, when just playing the prototype a few times, this game hit my top 10 games of all time, Sorcerer. Hey Aaron, what's Sorcerer all about?
Sorcerer is White Wizard's Games' take on kind of like Magic and Smash Up and Darkness combined.
With dice.
With dice. So in this game, you are going to be taking on the role of a sorcerer. You're going to choose a sorcerer at the beginning of the game. You're going to choose kind of like your class, and then you're going to choose where you're from.
Yeah.
And all three of those things you smash together to make your deck. And they all have like a little bit different flavor. They have different, like the Necromancer, is raising things from the dead. The Demonologist has lots of demons.
Undead people.
Yeah.
The Blood Lord.
Deals with the blood.
Vampires.
Yeah, and he's got the blood pool and stuff. So like everyone has like a little different flavor just based on those different classes and the person you choose to be.
Character, lineage, and domain.
You smash those together, you have your deck, and you're ready to play. Depending on the amount of players in the game, you kind of set the board up slightly different, but you're going to be battling over these battlefields, and you're essentially trying to do 12 damage to that battlefield to win it, and once you win 2 battlefields, you win the game. Players are going to be playing creatures down to battle over those battlefields, similar to Magic, where, I'm trying to do damage. I would rather do it to the battlefield, but you're probably going to block it with your creatures. But maybe you want your creatures to survive.
Right. Yeah. Block isn't the right word, but
Typically, the defender chooses how to assign the damage, and so they're going to throw their creatures in front of the battlefield, essentially soaking the damage and not letting it hit.
Well, it's not. You don't have 2 creatures attacking each other like in Magic.
No, you do damage. Like, you roll your dice. In this game, you have crits and you have just normal damage. When I roll a critical, I get to assign it wherever I want it to go. And then you, as the defender, get to assign the damage where you want it to go, the rest of it. So, like, you could kill off something, or you could assign it to the battlefield. But if I'm about to win that battlefield, you're probably going to just use, like, a chump blocker. You're going to use somebody that you have out there that has the health, can absorb it, and, let you live on to fight the next round. So that's where I kind of get that comparison. But it also kind of feels like Smash Up, where, like, you have these creatures and you're fighting over a territory. Like, just...
No, you're absolutely right.
The other Smash Up aspect is how you actually build your decks, because you're saying with the name and the lineage and the domain, each one of those have their own decks, and so you're going to smash those 3 decks together. So there is no deck building like in Magic or in LCGs where you're like custom making the best deck you can have for the battle. It's, I'm going to choose this chunk, and this chunk, shuffle them together, and that's my deck to play with.
And that might be my first complaint about the game. Granted, it's going to be a huge plus for a lot of people.
That's one of my biggest pluses.
I love it.
Right. And honestly, I do like it. It's at least something. I just wish deck building was like an option, and it really isn't. It's not, even if you wanted to. I mean, maybe, but so many of the decks have like a specific thing that they work on. Mm-hmm. Like if you took a lot of cards that gained you blood from the Blood Lord deck, we didn't take all of them, like it would be all off. And it does feel really balanced. It definitely feels like they did all the combinations and all the matchups, and they balanced it out a bunch. Because even if you feel like, oh man, that guy's deck is really strong, and then you pull out a card of your deck, you're like, oh wait, never mind, this guy's gonna come crush. Mm-hmm. So probably a really, really small negative, but I just wish that deck building was at least an option,
But if you don't have time for deck building like me, that's actually one of my favorite things about this game, is it gives me the feel of Magic or an LCG or that kind of just head-to-head deck battling and we each have our own personal decks, but I don't have to invest the very limited time that I already have into actually crafting a deck before I actually play the game.
And that's another thing you said, head-to-head. I really do think this is a 2-player game.
Yeah, there's variants to play with more, but it's a 2-player game.
Those variants work, don't get me wrong, but it shines as just a straight-up head-to-head. I'm going to win 2 out of these 3. Let's do it.
So the one thing that actually makes this really stand out from Magic is that the mana system, the energy that you're spending is gained At the beginning of the round, every round, the first player gets to choose whether you're just going to gain 4 or they can roll a dice that goes from 1 to 8. So you could gain a whole bunch right off the bat. And as an action, you can gain 2 energy. It depending on, how well that roll goes. If you're the one that's like, oh, I'm going to roll it, and you get a 1, you're like, well, now I have to spend some actions to get it. Or you can, spend actions to do other things. And you do get a lot of actions. You get 6 actions, which feels like a crazy amount, but you're like in Magic, you automatically draw cards. In this game, you have to choose to draw cards. You have to spend one of your actions to do it. So, like, giving you 6 actions gives you a lot of options, a lot of things to do, but you're only doing one at a time. I do an action, you do an action. I do an action, you do an action. We finish that round, then you become first player for the next round. You're going to get us energy, and then we just keep going on and going, battling it out on the field.
And all those actions are marked on that player board. Mm-hmm. And the player board is really nice that it has so much information on there. Like, I've taught the game with only needing to pull out the rulebook like for reference of just like going through everything on the player board and all the trackers and spot for the omen token, spot for your discard pile. But I do feel like that action tracker isn't the best. It's surprising how many times and with different people where like you just get to a point where it's like, oh wait, hang on, how many actions do I have left? 1, 2, wait, what do I...
You should almost start at the bottom and go, okay, I'm taking my first action, second, third, fourth, sixth.
That'd be even better. Yeah, you should do that.
But they tell you to start at 6 and like that's how many you have left.
Well, I would rather just have tokens that you flip, 6 tokens that are different colored sides or something. I mean, again, it's your game. You can mark it however you want. It's just with the player board this... well designed with like spots for everything. The fact that kind of is a little clunky is a little bit like, oh man.
I also, it's not a huge deal, but speaking of tokens that you flip, all the tokens in the game are double-sided, and like one side is damage and one side is an omen, or one side is flame and one side is an arthropod, which is like, it's a really efficient use of tokens, but I kind of wanted to just I don't want to get tossed there. I'm like, wait, that needs to be an omen. Or like, digging through, like flipping things over. I kind of wish that they didn't have double-sided tokens. But again, that is such a minuscule complaint. Like, but it is something I felt multiple times in the game. Like, I just kind of wish these were different.
Like you grab the flame token thinking it's damage, and then you go, okay, it's not. Wait,
is he actually flame? Is he damaged?
Mm-hmm. So while we're on the subject of little complaints, which is really all I have, are just a couple little complaints. These guys, so you put out like a little standee of your character, and it's really only like your main abilities, because like when you take those third decks and you shuffle them together, you take the top card off because that's like a static ability. It's really only those cards that this has an effect on, and it
can be such a minor effect.
And it's also like a somewhat clunky rule, and I had to like dig in the rule book to remember it, because it's been a long time since I played the prototype. I wonder how necessary that particular... Because I've actually played games where I totally forgot about that. Like, where I'm, like, explaining the rules. I'm like, just go ahead and start in the middle. I'll explain you what that means later. And then I never do. And then the game's over. I'm like, oh, shit, we never moved these guys.
So the one thing that might scare some people away from this game that can be kind of seen as a complaint is very satanic looking. Like, there's a lot... there's pentagrams. There's, like, blood and gore. And there's...
Yeah, just like demons, like evil looking stuff. Not just dark, but like evil.
It's definitely the artwork. And we were talking about this earlier, that it's going to be something that's going to draw some people in. But I also think it's going to drive a lot of people away. There's going to be a lot of people that will not play this game because of the artwork. I would not recommend this game if you have young children, just because of how dark and eerie and creepy it is. But if that's what you're into, this game is chock full of it.
Not only are you saying, oh, I think this will drive people away, I have shown this to people who then go, oh, I don't want to play that.
Like,
it has happened.
Just give it a try.
I know. And they're like, do you have anything that's not so dark? I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, totally fine that they have that type of objection, because this is a pretty seriously dark theme.
This is definitely like edging the line.
Yeah, it's not like terraforming Mars. I don't know, I'm afraid of space.
The Earth is flat. That's not even a real planet.
It's not even... No, Mars is round, but the Earth is flat. Come on, don't you read the literature?
Getting back into gameplay, though, this is definitely one of those games that if you want to do your very best not to be starved. You don't want to get to a point where you don't have any cards. You don't want to get to a point where you don't have any energy to spend. And granted, there's going to be times where it happens. Because, like, I have to get this creature out. Or this creature is just such a big fatty that, like, he's going to dominate the battlefield. But once you get past that point, it can be so hard to catch up. Especially if you're playing against an opponent who has, like, 6 cards in their hand and 8, energy, and you have nothing. You feel like you're getting train rolled.
After a certain point, you have to just like forfeit a battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Like most games, I'm not 100% certain I've ever seen a game where it doesn't come down to just one battlefield. Like, I win this one, you win that one, and we duke out with this one. I don't think I've ever seen anybody just win, that's it. But, like, you have to get... Is that what you did?
That's what happened with us the other night. I had a really bad dice roll, and then Aaron had a thing that, like, when this creature he made me re-roll, and then he had, like, well, when this creature dies, it can do damage back. So he was able to assign damage to that creature, kill him off, kill off one of my other surviving guys, and just, like, wipe the floor with me.
Nice. Okay, so I guess it can happen, but most games, that doesn't happen. So little things like that, you kind of have to tell people. Like you just said, don't ever, unless you're, like, dropping a real big card, don't, just have nothing. You always want to have at least somebody to soak up damage. It's okay to concede a battlefield if it means you can start doing, especially unopposed, over on another battlefield. There is a small learning curve like that. But I don't know, I feel like the game, outside of the people who didn't like the theme, everybody I showed it to always has a lot of fun with it. Like, even if they're like, well, it's not my type of game, it's very magic-y, I'm not into magic, but, I see the appeal.
I really like the dice rolling in this game. So, like, your creatures, they all have, like, strength, and that strength is how much damage they can do, but it's not really that. It's, like, how much dice they get to roll. So you're like, okay, they have 4 strength, I'm going to roll 4 dice. It could be 8 damage if you roll all the doubles. If you roll the crits, you can assign them how you want. And they do a really good job of mitigating your luck, where we have those tokens you can spend, or if you're the first player, you have the big amulet that you can flip over that rerolls all the dice from one roll. And, like, that is just, like, so cool in a game where it's like, well, it's, a head-to-head, you're fighting, but then, like, okay, but now you're throwing in dice rolling. Like, if you didn't have anything like that to mitigate, like, I think it wouldn't be as good. But, like, that is just so good. And, like, there's so many cards that, like, you play it out there, you get a token for playing that card. So now you've, like, gained...
Yeah, those things are relatively prolific. They're kind of out there a lot.
Yeah, but there are definitely points where you're like, do I want to spend it now? Is it worth making him reroll everything now? Do I want to save this for my rolls? Because the battling is, like, in Magic, it's like, all right, I'm attacking with all of these, and now it's your turn. And this, it's like, I attack, you attack, I attack, you attack, until we both pass on the battlefield and don't have anybody left. So there's definitely, like, do I want to spend it now? Do I want to save it? Unless you get to a point where you have, like, 8 of them, but then at that point in the game, you probably have some bigger people out there, and so you're, all right, reroll. It's like, I'm getting crits all night long, baby.
I do really like how different a lot of the decks feel. Like he was saying earlier, you have the Bloodlord, you have that extra resource you're counting. The Animus has a lot of small creatures that can get bigger and bigger as you add more stuff onto them. Necromancer brings people back from the dead. It sounds like this whole video is just negatives, but I think by saying it's one of my favorite games of all time, I'm allowed to nitpick. Out of the base game, there are 4 of each of the 3 whatevers. So that's a lot of combinations. I don't know how you do it. 50 or something, 60 something. Is it 4 times 3 times 2?
You do math and then you have an answer.
And then here's the numbers. So it sounds like there are a lot of combinations, and there are. But it really feels kind of like there are like 4 decks. Because you're always going to see 1/4 of those cards every single time. No matter what combination, you know what I mean? You're always going to... Especially because some of the decks are a bit thicker. I think it's the lineage ones are thicker. So, like, their cards are a bit more prominent. So if you choose the Bloodlord, this guy and this guy, and then you say, okay, I'm going to choose the Bloodlord and these 2 other decks, when you mix them together, you're going to see the Bloodlord a lot more. You know what I mean?
But the good news is there are a lot more decks out there through the Kickstarter. And honestly, just this game was made to be so expandable.
Yeah, but they're not. I don't have them. That's the problem.
And that was like, I go back and forth on like the box size, where like what comes in just this box, I'm like, why is this box so big? However, they definitely left room to get a lot more decks to fill it up. And I would much rather start with a bigger box and then fill it up as I go than start with a small box and then I buy one expansion. I'm like, well, now I have to either get one of those like card hotels and put it in there, or keep like 30 boxes on my shelf, or like big boxes are good.
First world problems.
Overall, I agree with Tom. I think this game was a blast to play. The fact that you don't have to build decks, the fact that it does give you that head-to-head battle. You're not just fighting each other, but you have like different zones to I love that in a game where you have like different zones. And so like if on my turn, I'm like, I'm going to play this big fatty here. Like one of these guys, if I'm playing against them, have the option to say, oh, well then I'm just going to move these guys away. Like just take it. I'm not going to spend time fighting you. I'm going to focus everywhere else. Take it. And while you're taking that one, I'm going to take these two. And that, I think, makes for such a good game, and that's why I would recommend Sorcerer.
So while the theme is kind of one of those ones that you would normally shy away from, I do really enjoy the gameplay. I really like the smashing of the decks. Like, saving that time in deck building is, critical. Like, if you don't have enough time to sit there and pick out and make the best deck and then, like, go find someone and play it against them. Like, this is like, hey, you don't want to build decks? I don't want to build decks. Let's just play this game. I break it out, and we're just going to make something right now. We're gonna battle. I do really love, having the 3 fields as well, because it's not just like, okay, I'm gonna try and do 20 damage to you to win. It's like, I need to do 24 damage to you, but also there's a third one, so really I could be doing more damage. Like, if you're thinking in Magic terms, like, the combat is just kind of quick and fun. There's the dice rolling, there's, the mitigating of it, and, spending these omen tokens to make people re-roll. Like, that's really fun. When somebody gets a really good reroll, you're like, no, reroll that. It's a really good game. If you like head-to-head battle games, you like Magic, you like Star Realms, it's, similar to that, like going head-to-head and like trying to whittle the other person down.
So I know all of us have been lobbying a lot of little nitpicky complaints against this game, but I only feel like this game deserves the amount of scrutiny it's getting from us, but because it's also getting an equal amount of love. I really, really love this game. Again, we played the prototype when it was on Kickstarter. It was one of our most played prototypes. Normally, we really only get to play, it has to get shipped off somewhere else, so we only get to play it like 1 or 2 times. I played it probably like 10 times because I brought it around to all my friends and we were like, listen guys, you got to check this out. It's on Kickstarter right now. Seriously, this is legit. And I put it in my top 10 games of all time list as of 2018. We haven't filmed our 2019 one yet, so it's probably still going to be on there. But I just really loved all of the gameplay, the dice rolling, and especially the epic feel of like every single character does so much stuff and has all these special abilities, and they're all big beefy guys, and every single person I put down, I'm like boom boom boom, and like, oh man, those are 3 big baddies, and then you put down boom boom boom, oh man, there's some big baddies. Like, everything just feels, again, really epic and really swingy, and rolling tons and tons of dice and then re-rolling tons of dice. I just always have a blast with this game, and if any of what we were talking about sounds interesting to you, I'm going to put a purchase link to this game in the description box down below. Get yourself a copy.
If you want some more information on this game, if you want to see more how it plays, Tom and I actually did a live playthrough of the prototype way back in the day. I can't talk to the quality of it or anything, but if you want to see the game played, we'll definitely link to that video as well.
Either way, you should subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.